Even when Marco was with Neko on his way to Wano and they were talking, when he was talking with the guy in the silhouette, who we still don't know who it is, with Izo, and Marco was like, man, honestly, I didn't realize like Wano got this bad. Maybe he meant like from when Ace came back and was like, hey, like Wano's pretty shitty right now. Like some shit's going down. They understood that like some things were bad, especially from the rumors they've been hearing around the seas, but they didn't understand how bad it is now. Like Marco was like, whoa, like what Ace said was bad, but like I'm here now and this is now they're calling this place Onigashima. Like what happened? Hey everybody, how you doing today? It's Valentine. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. It's always appreciated. Today I want to speak about something I didn't want to speak about, but it's been bugging me, really. It's just been bothering me. And this is all stems from the other day when I was listening to Rogers and Joy Boy's little stream interview podcast they had going on Roger's channel, Rogers Base and Joy Boy Theories. You guys should be familiar. Come on, those are the GOATs. A question was asked to Roger, and he answered it with the following out of context quote here, but basically that he wants Yamamoto to further explain her relationship with Ace, because she did mention that she met Ace before and they had some type of altercation or relationship for a short period of time. And I sat back, a light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, man, that really doesn't make sense. The Ace being a Wano just really does not make sense. And it's been hitting me a little harder after I read the Ace novels. And I actually did make a video about my issue with the Ace novel, which kind of definitely does coincide with this here. And it's Ace's timeline. Ace's timeline does not make sense. So let me make that make sense for you, okay? All right, I'll try my best. We could follow the footprints of Ace's timeline basically from the second novel, from when he entered the New World, all the way until his untimely passing. In the start of this second Ace novel, he basically just gets to Fishman Island into the New World. And right after that, he just gets involved with the Whitebeard Pirates. And at this point, for a few months, he's struggling back and forth about joining the Whitebeard Pirates or not. And this goes leading to my original issue, that after one of his first missions with Thatch and Blackbeard, he sits down at the table drinking with these guys, and he's like, hey, yeah, I had a brother Sabo, that's why the S is crossed out on my arm. He passed away, but I have another brother Luffy who should be joining the seas anytime now, any day now. Now that he's 17, he's going to be hitting the seas. That doesn't make sense to me. Putting it into perspective, basically, Ace stood on Whitebeard's ship, paying debts, challenging Whitebeard, going through a lot of self-discovery with the pain and PTSD he had from being Roger's son, to finally deciding to join the crew, which was a stretch of time, really. And back into the conversation that I mentioned earlier that Ace was having with Thatch and Blackbeard, it puts Luffy finally joining the seas and becoming his own pirate, basically when Ace wasn't even a Whitebeard pirate. And definitely if he wasn't a second commander at all. So leading into all the events that happened involving Ace with a time span that was really closely put together like that, just for me pulls away from all the great moments that involved Ace and the Whitebeard Pirates. Those really big moments that we had in the story. So everybody, let me further put this into perspective to show how Ace being a Wano actually makes no sense. The whole time Ace was in New World, he went to visit Shanks, and then he went and correlated a mission to go and find Whitebeard when he fought Jinbei. And from there, he was on Whitebeard's ship, doing missions for Whitebeard, finally joining the Whitebeard Pirates after doing some self-discovery and coming up with a concrete goal that he wants to achieve in life, which was to make Whitebeard the king of the pirates. At the same time, Luffy is going around picking up all the Straw Hat members in East Blue, making his way to the Grand Line, and then making his way to Alabasta. And at that point, somewhere in there, Ace became a second commander, Thatch died, and Ace set sail to go find Blackbeard. Marineford happened after that, then a 2-year time skip. So if we just stop right there and look at the time and an estimated value that it took Luffy to get from East Blue to Marineford, back to Amazon Lily after Ace died, right into going to the 2-year time skip, we can say that's like 2.5 years. If we really want to stretch it, we can put it at 3. We can put it at 3 years if we really want to stretch that out. Now that we're finally at Wano right now, it was mentioned that Ace made it to Wano, crash landed at Wano. Of course he crash landed twice. Such a generic thing that pirates never do, like they mentioned in the novel. Shanks' crew's actually making fun of Ace when he first crash landed, because it's just like, bro, that never actually happens to anybody. And it happened to Ace twice. So, twice, so it's funny. But my original point was that 4 years ago, Ace couldn't have been in Wano because Ace wasn't even in New World 4 years ago. So, what are we talking about here? Unless the Ace novels aren't canon, which last time I checked they are, right? Yeah. What are we doing here? I have an issue with this for a big reason, and it's because the timeline doesn't match up. That means more than just the timeline and where he was at certain times in his life. It's because Oda is using Ace as a motivation for Luffy to have more feelings involved in Wano. When he first made it to Wano and Otama was mentioning that Ace was there, that's an emotional moment for Luffy to have to re-encounter his brother and envision his brother that was here at Wano, in Wano, his brother that was in Wano at one time. And those emotions that Luffy had to go through. Luffy had to sit there and tell this little girl, like, yeah, Ace died. And like have an argument with her. And that's not something easy for you to say. I just, as a character, as a person, just thinking that Luffy had to go out his way to say that, all the development he had to go through over the 2-year time skip just to be able to come to terms with his brother's death. I mean, after Marineford, he was losing. We all seen that. Like, he was going crazy trying to fight everybody. He was like on suicide watch. He lost his crew at the same time. Like, this kid was destroyed. So to bring Ace back up just as a plot point to make Luffy more involved into the story of Wano, and Ace's character is also a motivation for the fans to get more involved with Wano as we read or as we watch the anime. And don't do that to us as well, where we dangle a popular character in front of us just to have us more intrigued with the arc itself. Like, oh man, I wonder how Ace got to Wano. Well, he did in Wano. He wasn't here for that long. So what happened? That doesn't coincide with like the timeline. So why even do it just to do it? Like, it feels like very empty, like an empty shell, really, just to be used to motivate us to push forward. And I feel like that's what some other less creative stories do. And I don't like Oda incorporating this in his writing. Maybe I'm making this more of a bigger deal than I should. But, I mean, I really love the story of One Piece. So I just hope that things like this don't occur too often. And, like, you know what? I feel like Oda missed the bag here. I feel like Oda could have really nabbed something cool here. Ace crash landing in Wano could have been like a secret mission he was on for Whitebeard. Because at the time, he wasn't affiliated with the Whitebeard Pirates. He was just working for them, paying off his debts, right? No one really knew that. Everyone that knew Ace or knew about Ace was that he just this brash rookie that turned down the warlord title, right? So everyone was just really intrigued with this guy. So him landing in Wano, actually, Kaido would have found that out. Kaido would have been like, hey, like, come join my crew. Probably, right? No? Like, he does that to everyone else. He wanted Luffy, he wanted Kid. He has a good amount of first generation rookies on his side. Like, I would see Kaido trying to recruit Ace. But that could have been like a little side mission that Ace was on just to see what was going on in Wano, because Whitebeard hasn't heard from Oden for a while. Maybe Izo, been sending letters there and haven't got nothing back. Was like, hey man, what's going on? That could have correlated with where we are right now and why Yamamoto knew Ace, why Otama knew Ace, why Ace was actually ever in Wano. But it doesn't really make sense if you look at everything from the way it stands right now. Oden really needs to find a way to clean this up. It just doesn't make sense. I'm trying to think how cool that would have been, where, Whitebeard was like, hey, go to Wano, find out what's going on, because we've been hearing some stories on the seas that Kaido is just running amok over there, destroying the land, I need to know what's happening, because Oden wouldn't let this happen. Ace makes his way over there, crash lands, that story goes how it goes. He makes it back to Whitebeard, and he's like, hey, Pop. Well, he wasn't a Whitebeard pirate at this time, so he'll be like, hey, old man, hey, Whitebeard. This is what's going on. And Whitebeard's like, okay, cool. We have to strategize and strategically attack Kaido now. And let's gather our forces secretly. And while Whitebeard ended up, sending out the bat signal and gathering his forces, Ace becomes a Whitebeard pirate, becomes the second commander, gets captured by Blackbeard, by the Navy, by the Marines. And now Whitebeard has to use the force he was going to use to attack Kaido with, to go save Ace with. But Kaido got wind of it. Maybe there was secrets going around the sea, some stuff getting leaked out, where Kaido understood and knew, well, all the emperors knew, that there was about to be a big war going on between Whitebeard and Kaido, because Whitebeard was about to attack Kaido. So now that Whitebeard was over at Marineford taking care of this, Kaido was like, oh, since you were going to surprise attack me, and you was going to, attack me on my territory, I'm going to get you while you're at your weakest, and I'm going to attack you while you're attacking the Marines. And Shanks, being affiliated with Whitebeard, being affiliated with Roger, and Roger being Ace's father, and Luffy being Ace's brother, he felt some type of duty to be like, you know what? Let me step in here. Kaido, relax. Get your ass back to Wano. And then Shanks makes his way to Marineford, and that went to how it went. And maybe that could have been the reason why Shanks ended up intercepting Kaido in the first place. That would have been so cool. Tell me not. Tell me if Oda didn't expand the story like this. Because in the second Ace novel, they really exploited a lot of fun details about the emperors and how they run their territories, and how, every pirate that comes to the New World has to affiliate themselves with one of the emperors, or they're going to get destroyed, or they had to cut a little cake of territory out for themselves, and they had to be a really, really strong pirate to do that. But then they elaborate on how Big Mom runs her family. She runs that like a mafia, and she doesn't really even set sail anymore. She just stays on her country, on her nation, in her big castle, and she lets her family, her kids, do all the dirty work and run the business the way they run the business, right? And then you have Kaido, who's just a newer Yonko at the time. He runs his pirate business really grimy as a bad traditional pirate, right? Where Whitebeard is more of a good traditional pirate where, you know, he doesn't deal with slavery and drugs on his territory. There's limitations for what you're able to do in the underworld where the Whitebeard flag is hanging on. And for the Shanks pirates, they're really more of an anomaly where they don't really have a big crew and they just really assorted themselves to a smaller ship and they run around and you don't know too much about what Shanks does and how he runs his business as an emperor, but you just know it costs a lot just to wave that flag, and they're running basically nations under them. And it was really cool how the Ace novels exploited that, talked about it in detail, and how Ace was going on missions for Whitebeard, and whether Ace and Blackbeard were together busting up slave traders on Whitebeard's territory or running up on other pirates just trying to take territory away from Whitebeard. It was cool little things that I really felt made the Ace novel fun for me. And with now in the Yonko saga, in the series of the manga, we could have used Ace that way, not just using him as a motivational factor for Luffy and everybody else. You could have used Ace in a better way. At least that's in my head. That's what my headcanon's thinking. Just because, again, the timeline doesn't make sense. 4 years ago, Ace could not have been in Wano because Ace wasn't even in the New World 4 years ago. From being reunited at the archipelago to going to Fishman Island to Punk Hazard to Dressrosa to Zoe, Whole Cake, and now Wano. That's only been a few months. 3 months, maybe? 4? Doubt it was 4 months. And Straw Hat time and One Piece time, not in our time, has been forever, right? Obviously. So it's weird to say, right? It's, you know, I haven't been doing that much for that long. God damn, Oda, you write slow. So shout out to Rogers Base and Joy Boy for actually just sparking a light bulb in my head. Because I left this alone when I did the video about just the timeline of how closely Ace was a Whitebeard pirate to how closely Ace died and Luffy becoming a pirate himself. That bothered me. But all this other shit just lit up in my head. I'm like, oh man, wow, oof, man, oof, ow. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Please help me make this make sense. That maybe Oda could come in and that's a big thing to ask, but clean it up some way, somehow. I know he's done it with other things in the past. Let me know what you guys think. Is it that big of a plot hole? Does it matter? To me, it matters a bit because I just think it's really shallow to use Ace that way when it doesn't make sense for Ace to even be affiliated with Wano at this point. Make it make sense, Oda. Help me make it make sense, guys. I really appreciate that. I'm sorry if I sound like a negative Nancy. I love Ace. I love Wano. I love what Oda does with One Piece, and I'm not mad at him because he has a plot hole. I mean, come on. We've seen way worse plot holes in anime and other writers. I'm Valentine. Thank you for being here today. Don't forget to hit the like button, the dislike button. If you dislike the video, subscribe, bell notification, and definitely check me out on Twitter if you want to talk about it a little more. I'm trying to make my way to Reddit eventually. I'm just not too familiar with the platform. Anyways, thank you guys. I always appreciate it. I'm Valentine, and I'm getting out of here. Later.